Welcome to the Growth Shift. I'm David Zylstra. Here's what I've learned after years in business. Every leader who's built something meaningful has a story, but the moment they had to shift, when failure forced innovation, when change became opportunity, when they chose growth over comfort. On this show, we dive into those pivotal moments, the setbacks that became breakthroughs, the strategic shifts that accelerated growth, and the frameworks that turn obstacles into opportunities. Because here's the truth. In a world where change is the only constant, the leaders who thrive aren't the ones who avoid failure. They're the ones who've learned to shift strategically through it. So whether you're facing your own pivot point or just want to learn from someone who's been there, you're in the right place. Let's dive in. This episode is brought to you by Valentix. At Valentix, we help B2B coaches who are struggling with generating consistent, high-quality leads, automating their client onboarding processes, and scaling their operations without simply adding more hours or headcount. Most of the time, our clients come to us frustrated because they're bogged down in manual tasks and feel like they're missing out on the power of modern technology. But with the right strategy and AI-powered solutions, they're able to streamline their workflows, attract better opportunities, and achieve sustainable growth. If that sounds like you or someone you know, learn more at valentix.io. Now let's dive into today's episode. Today on The Growth Shift, we are thrilled to welcome Kuhn, a seasoned entrepreneur with over 4 decades of experience and the visionary behind Bounce Solutions. Jean's journey is a powerful testament to resilience, creativity, and purpose, having transformed 2 bankrupt businesses into thriving ventures, including her own. Now she dedicates her expertise to helping small business owners, particularly women over 50, make more money by leveraging creative, unique, crazy-ass marketing strategies that help them stand out from the competition. Jean's philosophy centers on finding fun in her work, empowering others to achieve their dreams, and using AI as a powerful tool for efficiency and impact. Her insights into authentic marketing and sustainable growth make her an invaluable guide for our audience. Jean, welcome to The Growth Shift.
David, thanks so much for inviting me.
We're pleased to have you here today, Jean. Now, with over 40 years as an entrepreneur, your journey is very remarkable, especially your early realizations that your life's purpose was to help small businesses make more money. Could you share a little bit about what initially sparked this passion and how your diverse experiences, including transforming bankrupt businesses, shaped your unique approach to creative marketing?
Sure, I'm going to get that into 2 minutes. So it started when my first baby was born. And I realized that the moment they put him in my arms, right? That I am not going back to a job I hated. No matter how much we needed the money, I would just kind of figure this out, right? And that only took me 28 years, David, to figure that out. So that baby was 28 years old when I actually really started making money. But I knew in the 1990s, it was really in the early 90s, I was in a room with Zig Ziglar. So motivational. And I had the best time there. And I don't know why, but I walked out of that room thinking, my purpose in life is to help small business owners make more money. And I was there to learn how to make more money, right? So why that hit me, that was my job now in life to do that, I don't know. But it really took me about a good 28 years to figure it all out. And in the meantime, I had lots of businesses I started. I had lots of no jobs. I'm really proud of the fact I haven't had a job in 40 years, but I really spent a lot of time trying to figure out what is it that I need to know that I can teach. And I had forgotten about my dream of helping small business owners in those 28 years, right? And then as I was getting ready to sell off that last bankrupt, that was even before that, probably early on in that bankrupt business, I started helping my fellow franchise owners increase their business. Because when I bought that first bankrupt business, it was all about turning it around and making money. Well, once I figured it out, I started holding my own conference for the franchisees to help them turn around their businesses. And I think it was at that point, I'm like, I think I could do this for a living. I loved every moment of it. I loved the planning. I loved the inviting. I loved filling the seats, right? And that's the hard part, is putting butts in seats. So I just like at that point, I decided in 2006, this is what I wanted to do for a living, and then figured out how to work my way out of that bankrupt business, right? It wasn't bankrupt anymore, but how to work my way out of that. So I sold both of those off, or closed one and sold one off, and then started this. And I have never been happier.
Now, I think many entrepreneurs start in a similar place, right? And for you, you were in a room with Zig Ziglar and realizing that, hey, what you really want to do is help other business owners grow and thrive. But you weren't in a position yet to be able to do that. You didn't know the answers to your own problems. However, it was your problems that inspired what it is that you wanted to bring to life, or, the
Correct.
purpose that you had in life. So it sounds like there was a journey of about 28 years there where you were figuring that out for yourself and learning the lessons along the way to ultimately lead to that passion and purpose that you wanted to pursue. Over those 28 years, you mentioned that you never held a job. Amazing. But you tried many different businesses. And I suppose you probably sort of failed your way to success, right? Failed and learned, or tried and
100%.
learned and learned. What do you think were some of the most impactful or important lessons that stuck with you through that 28-year journey that allowed you to ultimately get to a point where, you had the tools and the information and the internal equipment to then move forwards with your ultimate dream of helping other business owners?
That is such a good question, because my very first client that I took on as a business coach and strategist followed me for 8 years, which means I was putting content out there. I was writing newsletters. I was putting information out to the marketplace, and nobody bought for 8 years, maybe even a little longer. But he followed me for 8 years and became my first client. And I often think about the fact that I'm not a quitter, right? I'm not a quitter. And that's the reason that this finally, I think God just finally said, she's not going to quit until she does it. So let's just make it easier. It's never been easy, but it's just like, I don't know why, but I just don't quit. And there's things I should have quit, right? There are things I should have quit, but I'm so incredibly glad that I did not quit this, because I know that this is what I was meant to do. I knew it when I walked out of that event that day. He was in Chicago, and I walked out of that and came home. And by the time I got home, I had worked through all of the processes. Like, this is what I'm supposed to do. So let's start now figuring it out. And then I forgot about it because I got busy learning what I needed to learn in order to do it 28 years later.
Hey, but you came full circle back around to that purpose and that mission. I mean, Zig Ziglar, of course, if anyone has heard him, and I think most people have, that he can really pull out inspiration,
Yeah.
right? And, really pull some great things out of you for, what it is that's important and valuable. Now, Gene, through that journey, right, you continued to fail and learn, and you persist, and you didn't give up. You didn't ultimately quit, the end goal, let's say. During that time, were there any most significant or impactful moments? What was your growth shift moment that really just started to connect dots and show you that, you knew the path forward to take?
There's so many of them, but I will say there was just one really impactful moment that after I bought that first bankrupt business, it was 2 weeks in. I owned another brick and mortar business, which was a dance studio for kids, right? So that didn't start really till 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And then, so I would work at the chocolate store. Well, that's what they were. They were 2 chocolate stores. I turned around, but I would work there during the day and come home. But 2 weeks into buying that first bankrupt chocolate store, I found myself sitting in the kitchen on an upside down milk crate. And I was just sobbing, like really kind of beating myself up. Like, how arrogant are you, Gene, that you think you can buy a bankrupt business and turn it around? You haven't even looked in all of the drawers and cabinets since you bought this business at this point, right? And I really had a nice little pity party there for myself for a while. And it was that cry that is like the snot's coming out of your nose, like everything's running down and you're like, right?
Ugly crying, I think they call it now,
So
right?
ugly crying, right? And there was no customers coming in to see me, so didn't much matter, right? But after about 20 minutes, I always go back to my original training, which is all the stuff that I learned from Zig Ziglar, right? So I had about 20 minutes. And I'm like, you better get your ass up off this milk crate and get to work. Right? So that's exactly what I did. I got up off the milk crate and I'm like, you had some remnants of a plan, not a good plan, but you had my plan was buy a bankrupt business. I can do this. There's only one person in the whole world I never want to let down, and that's my husband, because he's always believed in me. He believed that I could do that. So, which is why he always said the man should say no to me at some point, but he never has. So I was able to get up off the milk crate, start implementing some of the marketing strategies I had. I had no money. I had no list. The company didn't have a website. This is 2002. There was a lot to learn over that. So once I got through that, I just started then creating little marketing things that would make me laugh, because if I wasn't laughing, I was going to end up back on that milk crate crying, right? So if it would make me laugh, I would do it. And we did silly things like, do you know that maybe, I don't know, when you were in grade school, did they do little carnivals in school? And they would have like they had a blanket across the top and they would throw a little fishing net over and have a prize attached. So I took that idea on the first anniversary of me owning the store, and I called it the Ducky Anniversary party, right? So I bought a bunch of little floating ducks. They didn't float. They went butt up in water. So I colored some sugar blue and I wrote numbers on the bottom of them. And if I knew that our average ticket was $8, right? People walk into a chocolate store, they buy just what they want. I wanted to get it to 12. And I'm like, so if they spent $12, they could pick a ducky, and then there was a free prize underneath. Chocolate covered strawberry, a caramel apple, right? A box of chocolate, something. So I had more people take advantage of that promotion than the franchise had ever seen, because they could pull the data from our registers. So they knew I was doing something, but they didn't know what I was doing. So that was their first quest, is to find out, what the heck is she doing? And I created a lot of things as an entrepreneur, doing crazy little things that got the franchise's attention, that they implemented throughout the franchise system. One of them was email marketing. I love email marketing. I love it. So I love to write. And if I'm writing it, it better be funny, right? So once I was having success there, they rolled an entire Constant Contact out to all of the franchisees, me included. And I said, no, thank you. Because I wanted to write my own, because I knew what it took to be successful. And it wasn't sending out a newsletter every day or every week that said, buy my chocolate, buy my chocolate, buy my chocolate. I've got dark, white, and milk chocolate, right? I knew that wasn't the secret to success.
It never is. You're never going to sell something if you're telling people that they should buy it from you, right? People need to make that choice. People want to decide that, hey, this is what I want. But if you can use nice and very creative marketing tactics to draw them in and create more value for them.
Yes. So I turned down their free Constant Contact so I could keep doing what I was doing all along.
Fantastic. So Jean, buying this bankrupt chocolate shop, it sounded like the place where you started, let's say, that I think many entrepreneurs do, is perhaps the plan, or that foundational plan and strategy, really just came down to belief in yourself, and a relentless unwillingness to quit, right? Of course, you had some strategies for marketing and things that you wanted to try, but it sounded like there was a lot of uncertainty, and the one thing you could hold on to was belief in yourself, right? That strategy of, I know I can do this. And I think, again, a lot of entrepreneurs start in that position as well. So, you took that belief, you played around, you practiced, you tried different things, you came up with some really creative marketing strategies, and, you found your path to success, right? Which ultimately led you back around to your current main passion of helping other businesses grow. So now at Bounce Solutions, you empower small business owners, particularly women over 50, to make more money by using these sort of creative, unique, crazy-ass marketing strategies that you designed yourself. Can you elaborate on your core methodology? What makes your marketing approach so effective in helping clients stand out?
I do. I know exactly what that is. There is something, and I kind of believe it is God-given talent, that I have the ability to put myself in for every client I have, I can put myself in their ideal client's shoes. So I know what their ideal clients want. And it's now about figuring out what's the problem that their ideal clients have, and how can we solve that problem. right? I don't know why I know this. I don't know how I know this. I just know that I have not met a business owner, a beekeeper, a horse farmer, an estate planning attorney. I just haven't this unique ability. And the fact that I want to have fun and I want to figure it out, right? But to be able to do that, to be able to know what their ideal client's problems are, and I already know what the solution is.
Well, hey, I mean, we're all humans at the end of the day, right? As long as you have a little bit of empathy, care, and understanding, it's not too difficult to at least try and put yourself in someone's shoes and try and take their perspective, right? I mean, ultimately, with marketing as well as with business, right? You are marketing to people, with people, for people, right? Business is about people. So as long as, again, you can do your best to understand people, I think that's the place where a lot of people, should start and perhaps where they go wrong. Rather than, hey, look how great I am, buy my thing. It's, where are you at? What's important to you? What can I bring to you?
Exactly.
Now, you know, you've helped numerous small businesses now achieve very significant growth. Could you perhaps share a specific success story about a client engagement where your creative marketing strategies led to remarkable breakthrough?
I will share one that's we're in the level of up leveling right now, and she is an estate planning attorney. She started with me at November of 2020. By the end of 21, she was at about 495,000 for the year in 2020. By the end of 2021, she was at 1,014,000. She added 100,000 the next year, 100,000 the next year, 100,000 the next year. Last year, she added 200,000. This year, we are working specifically to add another 400,000, so she hits 2 million this year. She is so on track. She hit her first million the middle of June, just like we should have, right? And she is on track. She is only, she just told me this yesterday. I think she's only about $80,000 away from 2 million at this point. And her monthly goal is 200,000 every month, right? So is she going to hit it? Yes, she probably will hit it by Thanksgiving. And it's just about listening to what she does and just showing her how other different ways she can get herself out there, whether it's through speaking. She just sponsored my event, which was last week. She, in a room of about 30 people, she sold $8,000, right? So now she's probably only 72 that she needs to go for the rest of the year. So it's about getting her seen. It's about everybody being seen, right? As entrepreneurs, we're all marketers and we all need to be seen, and we need to help show people how we can help them.
Those are some pretty impressive numbers, especially in that first year, right? She tripled her revenue in the first year and still
She
achieved
just a little over doubled it. Yeah, she just
a little over doubled it.
little over doubled it.
Oh, sorry. I thought you said from starting point of around 400, she was up around one point.
She was at 495, so she was almost at a 500,000. So we went to 1,014,000. So maybe it is.
14.
Yeah, 14.
My apologies. I thought it was 1,400,000.
Oh,
wow,
no,
that's
1,014,000.
Incredible. Still
Yeah.
incredible. Over doubling her growth in the first year and achieving sustainable growth
Yeah.
thereafter. Additionally, now, Jean, did you help her, achieve this all through marketing, or was there anything else that you were able to come in and, help provide advice and insight around? I mean, what's the full spectrum of your services?
Yeah, actually there's been several times where she's had client issues, employee issues, right? I have been had employee businesses. Those chocolate factories took employees to run them. And I just have a different way of looking at that because I don't put up with any crap, right? It's like, look, if you miss a day, I'm a hard ass to work for. You don't show up and you don't call, you don't have a job, right? And that probably is not HR correct in this day and age. It was okay back 25 years ago. But right now I have helped her through some employee issues. I've helped her structure her staff meetings so that in the morning they come in, they have a 15-minute stand-up meeting where everybody gets, she can stay on top of it. She's an amazing attorney. She's a lovely woman. She's smart as hell. She wanted to be completely hands-off. Right. And once I got her to realize that she's the business owner and it really does, everything revolves around her and what she's doing. She is so happy now to be creating a staff that can do the work, bring in the daily sales goals that she needs, and she can take off 3 days and spend them at my events.
Wonderful, wonderful. And it all does start with marketing though, right? Marketing and sales, because you can never step back from a business. You never hire a team and, at least implement systems and employees to run the business for you unless you're generating enough income to make that possible. Of course, and marketing is where it starts. Speaking of marketing, Gene, I've been having a lot of conversations with business coaches lately, and there's a few core themes that keep surfacing, especially around the area of marketing, right? So many coaches and other consultants as well are struggling with cutting through market noise, right? We're in an increasingly saturated market, plenty of competition, a lot of people who have very unique services or great results, and they know they can help their clients, but it's becoming even more difficult to get people to notice them. From your perspective, with your expertise in creative marketing and helping businesses stand out, what are your thoughts around, these common challenges that people are facing right now? And what maybe do you observe in the market today for coaches trying to gain exposure?
I think a lot of coaches think that the only way anymore because of COVID is that the only thing they should be doing anymore is trying to gain business on social media, which is super noisy and not effective at all, right? My clients never hear me talk about social media. If you want to post, post. If you want to buy Facebook ads, buy Facebook ads. Is it going to be is that going to be the best bang for your buck, your marketing dollar? Absolutely not. But if you really want to scale and you really want to create something amazing and be seen, you should be out there speaking. That's I have made all of my money through speaking, right? Whether it be I'm speaking at a small networking group or I'm speaking at a big conference, or I hold my own conferences that I speak at, right? So being seen is you have to be seen. And it does. And I think it's even showing up right now. The virtual events are kind of really hurting right now. I don't do virtual events. I am so blessed that last week I was able to have 39, doesn't seem like a ton.
But if they're the right people and they're qualified opportunities, that's amazing.
Yeah, and yes, and because of that, I will have closed. That will turn out, that 3-day event with 39 people will end up being a $200,000 revenue stream. Right? It's almost there right now. We're just following up on all the sales right now. But it's about being seen and about speaking for leads and then converting those leads into clients. And you can't do that effectively anymore on social media.
Yeah, absolutely. As you said, there's a ton of noise, right? There's a lot of people creating content. It's much more difficult to stand out with social media only, right? It's great to create social media content for those leads and people looking for solutions and wanting to research deeper. But, in a world that is increasingly driven by tech, if everyone is going one way, surely it's better to go the opposite way, right? Focusing on,
100%.
tech is great, but focus on those relationships,
Yeah.
right? Face-to-face communication, having individual conversations or speaking events as well. Gina, I'd love to get a little more perspective and insight from here additionally, right? Because, speaking engagement's extremely powerful, also very time consuming. Right. The other thing that a lot of people might run into is, being invited to a speaking engagement or trying to put one on themselves.
Mm-hmm.
It can be difficult to get attendees if you don't have a great track record, or even if you do, you don't really have control, let's say, over the people coming to these events, right? So what have you seen and experienced with hosting events and, speaking in person to manage or deal with perhaps a possible time sink when it comes to live speaking engagements or the quality of attendees?
I will say that I have been holding events for 30, 40 years, right? When I first started. But these events now, they're super easy to put on. I don't find that a challenge, but you're right. The challenge is putting butts in seats. That's the challenge, because people still think they would rather go to a virtual event than go to an in-person event. That's what they think. But here's what I know. They don't sit there. They're not there for 3 full days on a virtual event. They're making dinner. They're picking up the kids. They're doing the laundry. They're going out to lunch. But at a 3-day event in person, they've made the commitment. 51% of my audience, right, was from out of state. So, and listen, I live in the Chicago area. There should have been millions of women who wanted to be part of this. You have to find the right person who believes that they can afford the time to do this, because and people who really want to learn how to, this whole event was about creating new leads, right? It's all about lead generation, right? So for them, I want them to be able to go out and do exactly what I'm doing, putting on a 1-day event or putting on a 3-day event and creating leads from that they can sell to and then end up closing 100 or a 6-figure payday, right?
So, leaning into that side of relationships, in-person communication, right? Making sure you're really focusing on that human element. But Gene, you're also using tech and AI pretty extensively as well, right? So you're leaning into what is fundamental to business, but you're also leveraging what's necessary to help you perhaps scale, grow, save time, and more. Tell us a little bit more then about, what is it you're actually doing with AI now to provide you a synergy across, your business focuses?
That's so interesting because I did teach a little bit on AI for the people who are only using it for like a name for their program or something, right? It really is about AI. The only reason I think right now some entrepreneurs should be using it is the fact that it can save them not just minutes, but it will save them hours. I was able to create content, it's all my content, right? But so I'll share this with you. I have a thing when I write my email marketing, right? I've shaved hours off of that I literally just put in the basics. Like, here's the basic message I need to get out there. And then I have you might find this hard to believe, I have my AI set to sassy assy, right? So it's like when it writes content for me, it's literally structured to say it should be warm, it should be encouraging, it should be thought provoking, it should be loving, it should be fun, and it should be sassy AF, right? And now I can write something that's exactly what I want to say without me spending 2 hours trying to figure out what that is, by just writing out what I want to say and then having it sassy it up for me. Somebody should be surprised if they ever get an email from me. It's probably I'm died and nobody knows, right? So they're trying to keep me alive and not let people know I've died if it's not sassy.
So, with this said, of course, you're focusing on making sure that it's in your own voice, in your own style, right? Keeping it sassy. How has this application of AI directly supported your core mission of helping small businesses with creative marketing and, allowing you to generate unique content?
Well, I have can I give you an idea? I'm going to give you an idea of something that just happened. I'm sitting on the couch on a Sunday. My husband's watching the football game, which I could care less about. And I'm just messing around on ChatGPT, right? And I was like just searching a couple things, thinking about what I've got, for this event that I had coming up. And I just started typing in some things and all of a sudden it gives me an answer. So I'm like, what if I created a book around that? And it came back to me and said, if you create a book around that, you're the only one that will be talking about this. The only one. So I immediately go to Amazon to see if there's any books out there regarding what this was. None. No books. So then I said, well, let's take that a little bit further. Let's build out a revenue stream. What would the revenue stream look like for this? And I put in a lot of details. I actually copied it and put it in my Google Drive just in case I lost my ChatGPT, right? 141 pages of notes there. But it literally, if you spend enough time on it, just even messing around, it gave me a revenue stream that I just finished that event on Friday. This is Tuesday. As soon as I get the rest of these agreements out, I am starting to work on that revenue stream. That is my whole third quarter, last 2 months, right? Last 2 months, because I'm excited to see where that revenue stream will go. And is it something that I actually can create a multiple 7-figure revenue stream from?
Incredible. So not just using it for, saving you time, but also putting you in a position where you can pull out new insights and new opportunities, just perhaps a little bit of research and from the understanding it has of you already.
Exactly. And I'm super excited about that, right? So I do think that you have to spend some time, not just your work time, right? Not just your work time. You think about something that you're really interested in, and then go there and start doing some research around it. Ask about revenue streams. Ask about how it happens. Ask about what I would ask it now. How can I create something that's never been created before? Because what did they say right now? That AI is now surpassed. I just heard that last week. AI has now surpassed the amount of content that's put out compared to humans before. So that just happened this year, that it has now put out more content this year than humans have put out or created, right? So
I'm
yeah,
surprised there at the speed that it can create content
right.
at, and
Yeah. You want to hear a secret?
yes.
A year ago, I was so anti-AI. I was all pissed off about it, right? Because it's like, I think it makes people lazy when it comes to learning how to copyright and things like that, right? And I really think it's a skill that you should manage, you should learn. And my clients were just like typing it into Chat GPT, and I'm like, no, we don't. But the moment I gave it a half a chance and I realized the amount of time I could save, I don't need an assistant anymore if I don't want one, right? I can create a lot more stuff a lot faster on my own.
And that's another growth shift in itself.
Yeah.
Gina, as someone who's witnessed over 40 years of business evolution and now leverages AI for creative marketing, you've seen many technological shifts, such as we've just spoken about. What are your primary insights into how AI is fundamentally reshaping the marketing and coaching industry?
I do think that it is reshaping if you're going to continue working the way you have been, I think it might be outdated. You might be outdated, right? So that is another reason why I'm kind of playing around. It's like when I discovered just sitting there asking questions for a while, right into it, was able to give me an answer that something nobody else is doing. That makes me at 66 seem really relevant when this comes out, right? That nobody else is doing it. So
Absolutely.
at this age, I still have to be relevant every day. I have to be super relevant because my clients they're relying on me to take them into the future. So if I'm going to take them into the future, I have to take myself there first.
Couldn't agree more, right? Relevance is going to be one of the most important things, and trying to keep up with that is going to be even more challenging. AI can be leveraged, but keeping up with AI is another thing as well. So relevance is one of those things that I think all coaches really need to pay as much attention to as possible, especially
so
those
too.
with hesitations
Right.
around tech and AI. Now, Gene, your journey of entrepreneurial resilience and your passion for helping small businesses thrive are very inspiring. To conclude, based on your philosophy of finding joy and excitement in your work, fun in your work, and using creative strategies to stand out, what's the single most important piece of advice you'd offer to our audience who are striving to build a flourishing business and make more money?
I think that a couple things. Number one, they need to have more fun, right? I believe that it's the fun factor that allows me to get my ass out of bed every day at 4:30 in the morning and host a call for entrepreneurs at 5 a.m., right? That's number one. It's because I do it because I have fun doing it. Yeah, because it is about having fun, but it's also about living your passion, right? Doing what you want to do and finding a way to do that. And I wrote something down. When you asked me before I wrote down having fun is part of it. But the other piece is, how can you help other people, right? How can you help other people? We were not put here to just serve ourselves, right? And that is, the older I get, that piece has been more important to me. It's like, I just want to help as many women as possible because I know what's important to me in my second act, which is my family, which nobody would guess that because I talk about business all the time, but it's my family and my grandbabies, right? I want to create a better life for them. And I can only do that if I'm creating a better life now for others, because the more you give, the more you get. That's one of the big lessons that I have learned over the past 40 years as an entrepreneur. The more you give, the more you get.
Gene, thank you so much for sharing your story as well as your insights and lessons with the audience today. For anyone who might like to connect with you to learn more about what you're doing or to perhaps even come and join one of your conferences, what would be the best way to find you online?
Could I give away something for free?
Please do.
Okay, they could go to Jeans, Jeans, freegift.com, and you will get the 5 no-cost, low-cost marketing strategies that I used to turn around 2 bankrupt businesses and all the fun stories that go with it.
Thank you again, Gene, for joining us on the Growth Shift today.
Thank you so much.
And that's a wrap on another episode of The Growth Shift. If this conversation sparked something for you, whether it's a new perspective on failure, a strategy you want to try, or just the reminder that every setback can become a setup for something bigger, hit that subscribe button and share this with someone who needs to hear it. Remember, the leaders who thrive aren't the ones who avoid change. They're the ones who shift strategically through it. If you're ready to build the systems that help you grow without the chaos, head over to valentix.io. We help businesses like yours scale smarter, not harder. I'm David Zylstra, and I'll see you in the next shift.